Hi, I'm Andrew McBean, partner for Business Process Outsourcing at Grant Thornton. I'm delighted to be joined here today by Khun Athikom Kanchanavibhu, Executive VP of Digital and Technology Transformation at Mitr Phol Group. We're here to discuss the vital role of digital transformation in addressing many of the major challenges facing businesses in Thailand today. Mitr Phol is a phenomenal case study for the positive impact of deploying digital solutions, and Khun Athikom has led many of these initiatives. So I'm really looking forward to hearing his insights for business leaders. Khun Athikom, thank you so much for joining us today. It's fantastic to be talking to you about this and a really important topic. First question is a bit of a long question, but I think it's a significant question. Recently, I've been in a couple of meetings with leading Thai companies. One who knows a great deal about IoT and telecommunications. Another one who makes a lot of use of analytics, for example, in their business. And I asked them both the same question: is my own experience. I don't feel that in Thailand we're really exploiting a lot of these tools. At least sufficiently. And I asked them the same question. I say, well, why is it that we're not able to do this? Why is it we're not doing this at the moment? Especially, as we'll see a little bit later, some of the challenges we have. And both times, and these were separate meetings, they said the lack of skills. And it wasn't, to my mind, they weren't saying a lack of skills necessarily about the people who do the thing, the IT skills. It was also a lack of sort of perhaps understanding of digital, perhaps at a management level, to understand the capabilities, the possibilities of digital for those businesses, for businesses. So that seems to be a very multifaceted kind of issue, which, and it's such a big issue, you would think it must really involve the government to some extent, probably all stakeholders. So to get to the question now, what's your view of this, and what do you think of the sort of the levers that we can be pulling to try to drive the digital skills forward in Thailand?
Yep, thank you for the question and for having me here to join the session, the discussion today. I think in terms of digital transformations, when we talk to both the public sector and private sectors, definitely the first topic is around the people and the skill, and also maybe cultures as well.
Excuse me if I said that right. Yes, high value, low complexity projects is the sweet spot, because that's also where you can fan the embers of the management saying, oh, yeah, that was a good use of money, let's do more of that. So it's amazing. Yourself, you're presenting on this topic a lot. I do this as well, and I'm often speaking to SMEs as well. And SMEs, of course, they can be very large SMEs. But I very often get the feeling that people who are leading those SMEs, those CEOs, think that this is the domain of the big companies, and that the big companies have big budgets, they have lots of resources, so yes, they can do this. But we are this SME, we're against it all the time, we're battling. They're falling behind effectively all the time because they're never making this start. So what would you say to that? I try to make my own arguments about that, but what would you say to that? Is it a play for SMEs as well?
I think there is both truth and untruth around SME and digital transformations. I think yes, SME naturally they need to conserve the resource that they have for the core operation and business, so they cannot really allocate a large percentage of budget for kind of digital tools. But nonetheless, I believe for the SME, they can really leverage the tools nowadays that are very accessible, that match to their size. So when we talk about SME, we are not talking about big ERP system that require like millions of dollars of investment, but we're talking about the small cloud ERP, very accessible. The monthly fee is like a few $1,000 baht, for example. So there are a lot of options nowadays. And I don't think we should like use the digital transformation terms for SME, probably digital organization, because they don't have a lot of legacy to transform. But they can just quickly make them become digital organization without really need to transform a lot of legacy. They don't have a lot of legacy anyway. Just make them agile and digitize with the low-cost solution. So there are low-cost solutions for ERP, for customer relation management, for warehouse, or even automation and low-code are now quite accessible. AI as well now become very accessible. So I think they just need to explore a bit what are the appropriate solution that fit to the SME skill. Because for Mitr Phol, we also have smaller business that we kind of explore a lower cost solution that fit to the business as well. So I fully believe for SME, there are options to access to digital and AI technologies at lower price point. And they don't really have to headache with the transformation part. The people part, they are more agile. So I think actually there are a good point about how they can become digital organization.
I love that point about, yes, calling it digital transformation is perhaps a really, because it's also become a bit hackneyed, that term as well. It's been around for a long time. Companies have not necessarily succeeded. It's become sort of wrapped around that you need multi-million budgets and so on. So I think it's a great point, as we should start to call it something else, especially as we have these new tools available to us today. One of those tools that you've mentioned is automation, and I have a background in automation as well, and Mitr Phol have rolled out automation on an enterprise-wide scale, and in my own experience, again, it's a lot of companies. So we have, there are a lot of companies using automation in Thailand, but very few. I mean, I can count it on one hand, have successfully rolled it out at scale, enterprise scale. It's really not quite easy, and I know this is also a global issue. It's not just an issue with Thailand as well. So, and automation, as we know, I call it like the company paracetamol. It can really help in just so many areas in kind of efficiency, or even helping you serve business areas that you could never serve before because the answer was, oh, we need 50 headcount, but then now you need one robot. So, how have you managed to kind of do that with, implement automation at scale across the enterprise?
I think first we need to understand the industry that we operate in, because different industry is suited to different automations. First is around the company that have mostly business transaction that can be digitized, like banking industry, telco, or medias. They don't have a lot of physical asset or physical operation. So in this area, we talk about digitization and automation, most of them. So this is one group of industry. Another group is those that involve around physical. We talk about manufacturing. We talk about product industry. We talk about kind of logistic, for example. So if we talk about physical industry, the automation is not just digitized automation. We talk about physical automations as well. So that is another scenario. And if we talk about experience industry, like service, hotel, restaurant. So this is a lot around the experience of people and human. So how you automate them, you also need to think about whether that the consumer, human will feel appreciate of that kind of automation, or they still expect the human touch. So based on different industry, there is a different scenario. How should we set the goals and invest in automation? Like in our case, when we talk about automation in factory, of course, we talk about physical robot and automation using the AI to automate the factories. If we talk about finance, accounting operation, they are most likely digital business transaction. So we talk about RPA, we talk about those kind of digital workforce. So based on this, then we define what technology, what kind of automation target we should set. And then we start to select the technologies and then roll out. Like for back office, we talk about RPA, digital workforce. So we invest in this area, and then we set goals like man hours saved from the repetitive tasks, for example. But when we talk about the factory, the goals of automation is not just to save man-hour, but also improve yield outcome, productivities, product quality as well. Yeah, so I think different industry have different goals for automation. You really need to understand the industry, select technology, and set up proper goals. And with that, we can start to have some pilot projects with the proper technologies, and then build the people, the skill to really roll out, and then continue to promote the impact that we get, so that people feel like, okay, we have a clear result, people are ready, and then we scale to the more scale in the enterprise-wide.
that's a good stepping point to the next topic, because of course often when people think about automation they think about their job and they think, oh goodness, I'm going to resist this passively perhaps, but because my job is going to be taken. But I noticed within Mitr Phol, your workforce seemed to be extremely engaged in actively contributing to your transformation. For example, recently you had the program where you exposed, or you have 1,300 of your employees using AI. You've got an active program around this generative AI, I believe. So could you just sort of explain a little bit more about that, and sort of how did that all start? How's it been going? Any kind of early experiences?
I think first there will be a couple of few areas that organization should consider. I think the first thing is around the cultures and change management of this kind of mindset, because many organizations, the employee, as you mentioned, may have a fear of the laws and the job security. But this is something that the cultures and management need to set the tone from the top, really, whether what kind of they expect the technology to have the implication to the workforce. As for our case, we really focus on a business expansion and the growth. So we continue to need to expand the business, and the headcount usually need to expand with the organization as well. But we try to leverage technologies to slow down the headcount expansion and have people have more time to focus on more challenging area of work. So I think we kind of make it clear that we never have enough people to support the business growth. So business always have to grow, you have to expand, and with that, the support will come from people and technology to support the expansion. And also we need to work a lot with the HR to have the reskill, upskill people, or even create the cultures that people feel like change is something, or innovation is something which is promoted and recognized in organization. So in our case, we always have the competitions, kind of innovation competitions, and all the business functions are very eager to share what are the change, the improvement, what are the impact they created, what are the saving they can do to save man out or improve productivity. So people feel like it is something that they are proud to make it happen. So change is something that people feel values and recognize from management level. So people in the company then don't feel like this is something to be feared, but something that people are eager to embrace and make it happen. Like for the generative AI. So so instead of having people afraid of whether that will take my jobs or not, we let people feel like it will become something that augmented their productivity. So that's why we roll out the programs to create internal Gen AI chat that powered by like GPT-4o, but make them available to all 6,000 employees. And then we create the program to onboard the people very regularly, 100 people per session, for example, to explain them how to use, how to give a prompt to get the result, which obviously people still find, some of them find it does not help me. Some of them find, oh, this is really useful. And I think that is natural and something that organization need to adopt people in brands and then let them get familiar with the technologies, which now we already onboard 1,600 people and keep expanding. So I think now it is something that people feel this is something that will be one of the standard tools that people should feel comfortable to work, and those who don't use it will be like kind of outdated, so they really need to learn. So I think we see a good traction of management and employees that too, I want to learn, I want to use.
I heard a really interesting description from a guy who really understands like LLMs and all this kind of stuff. He described generative AI currently as a petulant teenager, which I like that phrase because it's kind of like, yes, if you tell a teenager to do something enough times, they'll finally clean their room or something like that. And they'll do it quite well when they've done it, but it's kind of at that, a little bit at that stage. And people who've piloted it are kind of like perhaps slightly disappointed because of all this hype. But I think we share this kind of view that, in fact, you must get onto it now, and obviously you've taken that view. Is that something that the view that you've taken, and why do you think that people need to be using it now, even when perhaps it's still got more to be developed?
I think because usually when we talk about new technologies, but technology adoptions, it takes time. It really takes a lot of time. Usually when we talk about innovation diffusion, there will be around 15% of people who are really eager to learn and quickly adopt the new technologies like Gen AIs, regardless whether they are good technologies or partially fulfill their needs. There will be around the early innovators or 15% that adopt them. But then when we would like to make them into mass adoption, like more than 50% or even 80% of employees to adopt, it takes a lot of effort to cross the chasm to get people on board. And this takes time. So that's why we start to make people feel, have an awareness and comfortable with technologies, even they are like teenagers or the undergrad at the moment. And I believe with the pace of evolutions of the AIs, it will be really quick than people imagine.
Yes.
So
Yes.
probably in the next, in a secure manner, how you set the governance process to make sure that people have ethical use and responsible when they use data with the AI securely. So that takes time. So I think this is a good opportunity for people to play around with the technologies, with the non-critical information in organization. And once the technology is ready, then we can move them to on more mission-critical area that we use something like confidential data that work with the AI. So it is kind of parallel journeys between the technology evolution and organization evolution. Yeah.
I love that actually, because recently I was having a debate with somebody on LinkedIn because I put a kind of headline out said generative AI is coming for your white collar jobs, and I was accused of fear mongering, and I was actually saying that it's not fear mongering. I'm trying to create a sense of urgency because this is moving so fast that if you don't start now, there was a professor from Harvard who said, I think something like, machines are not going to take your job. People with machines will take your job. And that's kind of, and I love what you said there is that even though it's quite early, because you know that the bigger challenge is this big blob in the bottom, in the middle, so you want your early adopters on board as change agents so that when it becomes mature, which is very fast, it's going to happen very quickly, you've got this sort of this sea of going in your favor, if you like. It's terrific. One question which is slightly outside digital transformation is this, the aging population of Thailand is a considerable problem, and it doesn't seem to be a decline. No, I think that's a nice word. It seems to be a plunge. And so we might have, the government's own figures say 46 million people at the end of the century, but recently a minister has said it'll be 33 million people in 60 years. Now, if it's that, it means that we are putting 2 busloads of workers and we're driving them out of Thailand every single hour for the next 60 years. And there's nothing replacing them, really. I mean, that is a very considerable issue. Actually, I can't think of anything other than the issue. I can't see that as an opportunity, and it presumably has many different things which are required in order to solve it. Now, I believe digital is one key thing, but presumably, I mean, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. As a Thai person, I'm not Thai. What is this? What is this sort of multifaceted approach for this? Because this is moving extremely fast. I think businesses perhaps think, 60 years from now. But actually, 350,000 people will be taken out of the workforce this year. because that's the trend. So it's happening already to companies. They say it's very hard to keep people, very hard to find people, very hard to keep people. So they're saying that today. So what could we do? What can we do in Thailand? What can businesses do? What can government do? What's the approach that we must take? And how much of this could be helped by digital, do you think?
I think it is kind of it's not just the aging populations, but the new generation also expect something else when we talk about work and career, right? Yeah. So the aging is out of the workforce, and the new one also expects something different from the current workforce as well. So it's like a sandwich that push the organization at the moment. But I think the good thing is that people start talking about aging society, and then make it very clear that it will have a lot of impact. And at the same time, when we talk about technologies and digital or automations, it is something that need to be in sync with the speed of people who out of the workforce. I mean, when we implement the automation, we cannot simply move people out of the workforce because of automation. So I think it is an opportunity that we make it in sync between the pace of adopting technology and automations and the pace of attrition of the people who retire from the aging society. Right. So it is something that probably from governance segment and also from private sector need to have a proper planning of the workforce, technology adoptions, so there will be a lot of collaboration between HR, technology and business to make a proper planning that maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, what will be the people that leave the companies and what will be the level of automation that we put in place to complement with the workforce that's gonna leave the organization. And at the same time, I think organizations need to rethink the purpose and definition of jobs in organization, especially for new generation, because they don't expect work to be like, they don't expect anymore that they are first year of the staff, I have to do something very simple, very repetitive, per work instruction, 8 hours. I don't think new generation expect that anymore. More and more will be like that. So even they come in the first year, it has to be something meaningful and impactful for them. So I think those repetitive activities supposed to be leave out to digital workforce or technologies. And then we have the new gen that work on something more meaningful and impactful works. So I think to answer this question, we need to do proper planning between the pace of the retirement people, new gen coming in, and the pace of technologies adoption, so that we can have a long-term transition from the workforce in different generation perspective. Right.
Khun Athikom, I could talk to you for hours. You probably don't want to talk to me for hours, but I could talk. This has been incredibly helpful and insightful as well. I mean, I work in this area, but I've learned things in this last hour or so, and that's because I think you're a practitioner and a champion of this. You live it, breathe it every day, and you're leading it very successfully within Mitr Phol. So please let me say thank you very much indeed for spending time with us and sharing your wisdom. Hopefully we can return that sometime to you. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you as well, Andrew, and really nice to have a discussion with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.